Hi, everybody. What a privilege it is to be here tonight, especially being before Stephen Hawking. Patty, thank you for that kind introduction. I'm here to speak to you tonight about what Stephen was talking about, that is the future of the human race. And it's something that I think is pressing. In fact, I invested the $100 million in Kernel because I believe that we are about to enter into the most consequential revolution in the history of the human race, and specifically that we were going to build the tools to read and write our neural code so that we can take control of our cognitive evolution. My name is Bryan Johnson, and I would like to put a chip in your brain. Now, I know that may sound a little sci-fi, that's probably what you're thinking, but hopefully you'll change your opinion in a few minutes. I started a company called Kernel a year ago, and I invested $100 million to create chips that would be implanted in the brain to help address disease and dysfunction. We're leveraging this emerging technology to also explore how we might extend human potential. I made this $100 million by selling my previous company to PayPal. Now, in making this investment, a lot of people made remarks that I seem crazy for doing this, which is not unreasonable to say in doing this, because neurotech and neuroscience are incredibly hard. It's capital intensive. We haven't made critical breakthroughs of the scientific understanding. Our tool set is not that great. In fact, the 90s was called the decade of the brain, and arguably not much came from that. The Obama initiative was a step in the right direction, but still it was funded at 1/3 of 1% of the total NIH budget. And so it's understandable that people would look at this and say, it doesn't make any sense. Venture capitalists would say it's too risky. Government funding is insufficient, and to be honest, trying to crowdsource funding for this is just really hard. So I'm doing this because I think that unlocking the brain and learning how to read and write our neural code is the single most consequential and exciting adventure in the history of the human race. The good news is that we have a new era of neuroscience upon us. With advancements in microelectronics, machine learning, and material science, we now have the tools to make attempts at these breakthroughs. We're also building on the shoulders of giants. It's a wonderful opportunity for Stephen Hawking to have spoken about AI. 2017 kind of seems like the year where we all became a little frantic about the realization that AI may take over the human race. And I don't think those concerns should be discredited. I think we should be very thoughtful about these things. At the same time, I personally am much more concerned about human behavior than I am about AI. The power for a single individual to create a bioattack, to knock us off the electrical grid, is devastating. We cannot let singular individuals create so much destruction in society. That it might make sense to make our own evolution, our ability increase, the #1 priority of the human race. So in thinking about all this, the problems we have in the world, the things we have to go about doing it, this is why I've started Kernel. When I looked at the world and I tried to assess who's investing in the brain, who's trying to improve its abilities, who's putting the capital there, is the government doing it, are entrepreneurs doing it, are venture capitalists funding it? How often do we talk about it? I, in fact, had 12 dinners over the past year, and I would start the dinners and say, let's imagine we're living in the world 2050. And we're very happy. We built this remarkable world. What did we focus on in 2017 that allowed us to build this amazing world? And without fail, I got the same answers every time. Climate science, education, AI, security. The same answers every single time. But you know what? Not a single person mentioned the brain. Yet everything we are, everything we build, and everything we aspire to become stems from the brain. So why is the brain such a blind spot in our society? Kernel's a first attempt at trying to make a dent in the tools we build today. So what is the state of play? What could we do? We have MRI machines to image our brains. We have EEG to record, to meditate. We have a TDCS to stimulate for addiction. These tools are amazing. I don't mean to belittle them at all. But they are far lacking the power we need to read and write our cognition. So when I say that, what does that mean? Like, what are some examples to make that tangible? Imagine if I had a tool to interface with my brain where I could walk a mile in someone else's shoes. What if I could feel what it was like to be you? What if I could understand your contextual framework? What if I understood your memories and your emotions? Would that change the way we deal with each other, the way we cooperate, the way we make decisions? Would that change our creative ability? What if, instead of destroying our enemies, we destroyed the concept of enemies? So why do I care about all of this? And maybe a more relevant question is, why should you care about this? Well, my stepfather was recently diagnosed with early symptoms of Alzheimer's. My father struggled with drug usage for the first 25 years of my life. And I had chronic depression for a decade, something I would never wish upon anybody. I have 3 children, which kept me in the game, and I fortunately came out of that. But I wonder, if we were able to read and write neural code, could we have eliminated these things? So now as we contemplate the next great frontier of human aspiration, if the 20th century was about learning how to read and write biology and going to the moon, what are the most ambitious things we could imagine as a species in the 21st century? I would argue it's inside our brain. Yet it's hard to imagine the things we can't see. So in order to do this, let's play a game of what if. Let's imagine that we have chips implanted in our brain that we can read and write neural code at a fashion that gives us the ability to do a bunch of things. So what if we could walk a mile in someone else's mind? What if we could feel the ocean, the forest, and the honeybees? What if we could live history instead of reading it? What if we could conceive of 4 and 20-dimensional shapes? What if we could, instead of destroying our enemies, we destroy the concept of enemies? What if we could be more kind, empathetic, and compassionate? What if we could communicate telepathically with a new language that is 100 times richer in conveying thought, emotion, and experience? What if we could internally channel the genius of a writer, scientist, or artist? What if we could eliminate cognitive biases, compulsive behavior, and destructive tendencies? What if Trump could tweet directly from his brain? Imagine the number of confifis we would have on the interwebs. Now, in building these technologies, and in any revolution, it is not guaranteed that things are going to go well. We've seen that happen many times. Revolutions come, windows open up, the old is pushed aside, and a new narrow window is opened up. So how might we be thoughtful in building these technologies? Let's give you one example. When I use Facebook today, I log in and I socialize with my friends and my family. In exchange for that, they acquire as much data as they possibly can about me. They know me better than my girlfriend. And that's the same relationship I have with Google and Twitter and the government, who is also collecting everything they can about me. I really dislike this relationship. Now let's imagine if we have these interfaces and we're streaming our thoughts and our secrets and our imaginations and our fantasies in real time. I really dislike that relationship. So what if we had the power of these tools, and what if we could drop these things in the blockchain? And what if we said that human data privacy was a human right? And that in doing that, we leverage these tools to recreate societal structure on trust, security, to work against things like terrorism or mass shootings. Where if you are represented by the blockchain and you are secure with all your information and you give permission to others, but then people build algorithms of security to hit your blockchain and say, is this person safe to enter Web Summit? We can rebuild it. The idea that a centralized government can keep society safe is insane. We have to rebuild these fundamental architectures. We currently have this massive debate in society where AI has somehow taken like the most important position of like what we should be scared about. And it's reasonable for us to say this is a very powerful technology and we should be thoughtful about how we deal with this technology. It's not to dismiss it, but there's like a distribution. And if we look through the history of humans being able to predict the future of technology, we do not have a great track record. And so we are very, very concerned about AI, which again is appropriate, but I personally am much more concerned about human behavior than I am about computational intelligence for now. And I think that a greater focus on leveling ourselves up as a species is the number one thing that we should be contemplating. Thank you. Appreciate that. So in short, a revolution on the scale of something we've never seen is coming. It's going to be on our front doorsteps in 15 to 20 years on a scale we've never seen before. A window's going to open up, and we're going to have a shot at building something remarkable. And once we build it, it's going to close. So I'm going to go home to my daughter. I'm going to say, baby, I know you've got a lot on your mind. I get it. Monsters are scary. Nagini's in the wall. Animals taking over the world. I hear you. But guess what? I'm working on these things, and I just talked to 15,000 people in Lisbon, and they're working on it too. And guess what? We'll do this. So let's not fuck this up. Thank you.